Let me tell you a story. A young man who once had everything, a great job, a beautiful family, a deep sense of purpose, felt connected to something greater, something that gave him strength and direction. But over time, life got busy. Work demanded more. His family needed more. Even his mood, his health, his fears began to take center stage. Slowly, without realizing it, his focus shifted. What was once a deep connection with God became something he could barely fit into. One day, he found himself standing at a crossroad, exhausted and empty. He had everything, but he felt nothing. The joy he once knew seemed so far away. He tried to ignore the ache in his heart, but it wouldn't go away. He had allowed something else to take God's place. He had let idols replace the devotion that once filled him. Because man was created for worship, an idol is anything that you give absolute attention to as a replacement for worship. And so you ask a believer, what's your relationship with God? They'll tell you, it's my work, my family, or my business, or sometimes I'm not in the mood, but I've just been sick. You see, God wants devotion. Despite all the above listed things, he wants to make sure that every day nothing ever comes to steal the place of his worship. That's why when Adam devolved into idol worship, having disobeyed God and began to live outside the mandate of God, his worship was contaminated. God could not find him in the garden of communion. He had submitted to shame and rebellion. Everything that a man ever wants is a consequence of his worship and his devotion. Every consequence that befalls a man is a function of worship. Every child of God is a child of covenant. That's why you cannot afford to live outside of God. There is always grievous repercussions. But here's the good news. You can always return. A young man in our story realized something. His heart was made to worship. It wasn't like work or success were bad. But when they took God's place, his soul was off balance. He needed to go back to the foundation of his life, to the one who gave him purpose in the first place. When he did, everything began to realign. The peace, the joy, the direction all came flooding back. We all have a choice. You can keep going down the road of distractions, allowing life to take God's place in your heart, or you can turn around and go back to the source. It's not too late. Jesus is always waiting to restore that fellowship. The moment you turn your heart back to him, everything will work the way it's meant to. You must come back now. These are excerpts from the book of Leviticus chapter 26.